All right, hello class. So today we're going to be talking about Song of Songs, and give me just a second to set us up here. All right, so last time I talked about Psalms. Psalms was purported to be written by David, King David, and Song of Songs is purported to be written by Solomon, his son. Now, his scholars don't really accept that authorship, but that traditionally is what it was ascribed to him. So it's a unique text within the Hebrew Bible. It does not show any interest in law or covenant or the God of Israel directly. Now, I mean, it does mention, excuse me just a second, it does mention some figures who are certainly associated with that text, Solomon being, of course, one of them. But it instead is really focused on love, and it's the voices of two lovers praising each other, yearning for each other. They're described as being in harmony, rejoicing in a kind of sexual intimacy. Women of Jerusalem form a chorus for the lovers and function as an audience for that. So this song is, typically within modern Judaism, it's read on the Sabbath during Passover, and marks the beginning of the grain harvest and the exodus from Egypt. So there's a kind of link between the sexual context of the work and this idea of harvest, renewal, fertility, etc. In its structure, it does not have a plot, but can be thought of as having a framework. So just to kind of quickly break down its content, it starts with an introduction and then goes into a dialogue between the lovers. The woman recalls a visit from her lover. She then addresses the daughters of Zion. And after that, there is a sighting of a royal procession. That's in chapter 3. And then a man, the lover, he describes his lover's beauty. Woman addresses the daughters of Jerusalem again. If, as I mentioned, they function as the chorus. Then the man describes his lover. So there's kind of this back and forth, and then there's observances of the woman's beauty. So it's a fairly short book, and the introduction uses a motif that's pretty common in the Bible, where something is described as the greatest of its class. So that's what Song of Song means. It's like the best, essentially the best of songs. Okay, so another example of that motif of something being the best, like the Holy of Holies, for example. So it's a kind of common structure there. Okay, so let me kind of get into this a bit. All right, so I'm going to read from book 1, and then we'll kind of go from there. Okay, so again, there's 3 speakers. There's the woman, the man and the audience, the women of Jerusalem. So it starts off with um, this woman, this female lover. Uh, Let him kiss me with kisses of the mouth, for love is more delightful than wine. Pleasing is the fragrance of your perfumes. Your name is like perfume pulled out. No wonder the women love you. Take me away with you. Let us hurry. Let the king bring me into his chambers. And then the friends speak. We rejoice and delight in you. We will praise your love more than wine. And then the woman speaks again. How right they are to adore you. Dark am I, yet lovely, daughters of Jerusalem, dark like tents of Kedar, like tent curtains of Solomon. Do not stare at me because I am darkened by the sun. My mother's sons were angry with me and made me take care of the vineyards. My own vineyard I had to neglect. Tell me, you whom I love, where you graze your flock and where you rest your sheep at midday. Why should I be like a veiled woman beside the flocks of your friends? Okay, so this is a poem that is very influential on some later motifs in literature, and we've as a literature course, we kind of look for these moments. The idea of the shepherd lover or shepherd poet is a very common motif in literature. Really influential. If you ever were to take a like the graduate records exam for English, like if you were to go to graduate school, and many still require that, you probably would have to read a poem called "The Nymph's Reply to the Shepherd" by Sir Walter Raleigh, and it is a poem that's really all about this motif of kind of the shepherd lover, and it itself is a response to another poem by Christopher Marlowe, who was a contemporary of Shakespeare, called "The Passionate Shepherd to His Love." And I'm going to take just a moment to read from that, just to kind of give you some idea of what I'm talking about. So give me just a second here. I'm going to do a screen share. And there we go. Okay, so this is The Passionate Shepherd to His Love. Christopher Marlowe, so this is an early modern English poem. Come live with me and be my love, and we will all the pleasures prove that valleys, groves, hills, and fields, woods, or steepy mountain yields. And we will sit upon the rocks, seeing shepherds feed their flocks by shallow rivers to whose falls melodious birds sing madrigals. And I will make thee a bed of roses and 1,000 fragrant posies, a cap of flowers and a kirtle, embroidered all with leaves of myrtle. A gown made of the finest wool, which from our lambs we pull, fair-lined slippers for the cold, with buckles of the purest gold, belt of straw and ivy buds, with coral clasps and amber studs. And if these pleasures may thee move, come live with me and be my love. The shepherd swain shall dance and sing for thy delight each May morning. If these delights thy mind may move, then live with me and be my love. Okay, so it's a poem that uses a lot of slant rhyme, meaning like near rhyme. So love and prove don't rhyme, but kind of almost do. But if you look at what this is really about, this poet lover, the shepherd, is saying that he doesn't have much material wealth to offer, but he instead can offer, what nature will provide. And so he talks about, making a dress, a cap of flowers, and just lamb's wool to guide from the cold and all of that. And then in the nymph's reply to the shepherd, which is kind of satirical, is all about how what he's offering is not, in fact, adequate for her needs. So Raleigh says, and this is in the voice of the nymph of his lover, which itself is kind of a classical allusion. But anyway, if the world and love were young and truth in every shepherd's tongue, these pretty pleasures might me move to live with thee and be thy love. Time drives flocks from field to fold when rivers rage and rocks grow cold, and Philomel becometh dumb, the rest complains of cares to come. The flowers do fade in wanton fields, to wayward winter reckoning yields. A honey tongue, a heart of gall, is fancy spring, but sorrows fall. So what she's saying here is that the material reality of what he's offering is very harsh, that a shepherd can't really provide much of a life for her. He just has a honey tongue. So he has a lot of promises, but he can't really come through with it. Thy gowns, thy shoes, thy bed of roses, thy cap, thy kirtle, and thy posies, soon break, soon wither, soon forgotten, in folly ripe, in reason rotten. So it's foolish to believe in them. They're ripe to the fool, but if you use reason, they all fade away. Thy belt of straw and ivy buds, the coral clasp and amber studs, all these in no means can move to come to thee and be thy love. But could youth last and love still breed, had joys no date and age, nor age no need, then thy delights my mind might move to live with thee and be thy love. So, basically, what this is a poem that essentially is drawing upon a motif that is about these shepherds and this concept of the kind of shepherd lover. So it's this sort of idyllic representation, and it does harken back to this tradition. Now, this isn't really necessarily where it comes from, but it is what they are referencing. And okay, so as we move forward here, we within the poem, the friends speak up. If you do not know, most beautiful of women, follow the tracks of the sheep and graze your young goats by tents of the shepherds. I liken you, my darling, to a mare among Pharaoh's chariot horses. Your cheeks are beautiful with earrings, your neck with strings of jewels. We will make you earrings of gold studded with silver. While the king was at his table, my perfume spreads its fragrance. My beloved to me as sacred as myrrh. Resting between my breasts, my beloved is to me a cluster of henna blossoms. Okay, and so there's a lot of allusions and references here. And then he doesn't speak up until the end of book one. The beams of our house are cedars, our rafters are fir. And then there's just this kind of back and forth. So this stands out again as a unique poem. It is a love poem. It's not really as interested in a lot of the theological concepts that we've been over, but certainly it does follow a lot, or it does influence a lot of motifs of later literature. It doesn't really offer any clear clues about its date, except of course it is after Solomon. It does have parallels to some Mesopotamian and Egyptian love poetry of the first millennium. And it relates to some concepts that you certainly see in those works. The setting of the poem is often debated. It does seem to be a kind of agrarian / desert desert setting, but there's not much to link it specifically to Israel. And in terms of interpretation, I mean, literally, it's about love and sexual longing between a man and woman. It doesn't really have a lot to say about the relationship of God to humanity. So in order to reach that interpretation, which Christian theologians did, they had to resort to allegory. So reading it as depicting the relationship of Christ to the church, which is kind of a stretch, and a lot of scholars, or these early biblical scholars, rejected that and took the poem more at face value. The poem also has some modern applications for critical theory, and definitely bears some relevance for a kind of feminist biblical criticism that looks at like the representation of women. Okay, so that is Song of Songs, and I have a department meeting that I have to attend, so I'm gonna have to cut us a little bit short today. But that covers Song of Songs, which is what I wanted to get to today. So next week we're going to be looking at Esther and Isaiah, and your journal is going to be due on April the 12th. So for this week, just make sure that you take the quiz over Psalms and over Song of Songs, and then we will resume next week. We'll talk about Esther on Tuesday and Isaiah on Thursday. Thank you.